So just yesterday, Elon was the first invited foreign speaker at the World AI Conference in Shanghai. So he was there and he started to speak about it. So first of all, for him to have been invited, it's a big deal. So this is what he says. Let's watch the video that he talked about. It's when you listen to this video about FSD, it's going to be something you have heard him say a few times, which is FSD is real and it's coming. But just watch his confidence in here.
Um, I think we are very close to achieving full self-driving without human supervision. So when I drive a Tesla car using the latest full self-driving beta, I almost never need to touch the controls going from one destination to another. Again, this is so much speculation, but I think we will achieve full self-driving, depending on what level you call it, 4 or 5. I think later this year. So now I've been wrong about this prediction in the past, but I feel like we're closer to it than we ever have.
Okay, well, so we've heard him say this many, many times. Okay, he's been saying this since 2015. Some people say, although he was actually referring to autopilot from 2015 to 2018. Certainly, he has been saying FSD is coming this year, and each year he was wrong. However, he's been saying this many times this year, and there's two reasons why I actually believe him this time. And the reason I believe him is because they talked about Dojo, and we'll talk about that, which is a supercomputer. And then this two videos from two of the actual engineers working at the FSD, and we'll show some of that. What was your what's your reaction when you saw that?
I think it might be better to save it for after. Basically, the short answer for right now is that I think it's going to take longer than the end of this year. I'm hoping that we see something really impressive by the end of 2024, and that it will basically become clear at that point that this is going to happen, and it's just a matter of time, that all of the capabilities of the system are there and they're ready, and that there's just some polishing work that needs to be done. But I honestly, I don't expect us to see that product released by the end of this year.
Yeah, it's a tough bar, right? Because he's talking about level 4, level 5, which he just said, level 4, level 5. That's robo-taxi.
Yep.
That is not touching the wheel. Everybody will say there's like the March of Nines, 99.999999, and you can't be that issue. There are, of course, robotaxi today being used in select geofence locations. Cruise and Waymo are doing it. They're getting paid to do it. So kind of this weird dichotomy of some people saying it'll never happen. Don't you know the 99? You have to be 6 nines of safety before this will ever be rolled up, and yet it's already happening. There are already jurisdiction. Yeah.
Yes. So the difference in what Elon is saying now versus in the past is I really do believe that he's correct in that they have the right architecture under the hood, and that's what we're about to dig into, to actually be able to achieve a good generalized solution to autonomous driving that can go pretty much anywhere, unlike the geofenced solutions that Waymo and Cruise and these types have. So, that's one thing, and we'll examine that here momentarily. What it basically boils down to is that we have seen the proof of concept now with GPT-3, GPT 3.5, GPT-4, and then the ChatGPT product that's built on top of GPT-3. You can switch out under the hood which GPT model that it's running on. But the way that those are trained is essentially the way that they are moving to training full self-driving. And so we have seen that this has worked in the space of language. And now the problem is that, just think about how large a text file is. It's tiny. And they had to feed all of the text on the internet into GPT-4 essentially to train it, to get this incredible foundation model that is capable of interacting with people through ChatGPT in a very human-like manner. To store, an hour's worth of reading in text is on the order of kilobytes. To store an hour's worth of viewing of a very small frame on your computer, well, now you're talking about megabytes, potentially even gigabytes, depending on the file type. And so the density that you have to process, if you are trying to train a video model that is the equivalent of GPT-3, you're going to need tons more. You're processing a lot more data, orders of magnitude more data, which means you need orders of magnitude more compute. And so that's what they're building. And they are training it in, the way that these LLMs train is an autoregressive, general purpose transformer that they basically put a giant blob of text out, and then they block out individual words. And they say, can you guess the words that are there? And so you don't need labels. You don't need special training data. It's, it's self-supervised. You don't have to have humans in the loop of the training. It can just feed in data. It can do some masking, and then it can try and make predictions, and it can tell, did I get the predictions right or did I not get the predictions right? And Tesla is essentially doing this with video now, that they are they're feeding in video frames, and they're saying, okay, like, we're going to take video frames away, and we're going to ask you predict what the next video frames are going to look like. And the model can actually do that. And interestingly, it can even do that in a way that you can prompt it exactly what type of video frames do you want it to, if you're driving along, do you want it to predict, I'm going to continue in this lane, and this is what the video frames that I would see over the next 10 seconds as I continue in this lane. Or you can say, hey, I'm going to make a lane change over to the right, and it will predict all the video frames that the cameras would see if the car made that that lane change. And so they can train in a self-supervised way that removes the need for a lot of labeling. It allows them to get a very general model, just like ChatGPT or GPT-3 has a very general model of language. It can interact in any number of ways, like a doctor, like a lawyer, like a first grader, like a second grader. And they're building that type of generality into the video foundation model that they're building and putting things on top of. So yeah, that's what.
Okay,
that's kind of a primer. Yeah, let's watch some of that in the video.
Let's watch it directly from the directors of AI. But you've done a good summary of what we're saying. Basically, what I heard you say, of course, it's much harder to do video. Absolutely. So you need to have supercomputer. Let's talk to Dojo. Secondly, they're using the same kind of philosophy and platform that ChatGPT did to predict the next word, the next sentence, and you can see how successful it's been. They're now using that same model to predict what's going to happen to the scenery and to generate a model, right? Sort of a 3D construction of the world. This is so amazing what they're doing. So let's dive right into that.
And just to say that this is why they have confidence that it's going to work this time, because they've already seen that this has worked in other realms. And there's nothing special necessarily about, the general purpose transformers can process video or audio or text, or, they're using it for like the language of lanes. Like the nature, the modality of the data itself is not really going to make a difference. And so that's why they think it will work. And so when Elon says, I think that we'll have this by the end of the year, that is his internal target for, it'll be V12. I want V12 to be rolled out by the end of the year. And so the question is, well, how straightforward is it to roll out V12? Is it going to take longer than the end of the year to get it? And then once it's rolled out, how much actual supercompute capacity do we need to have installed in order to really make that V12 model the fully built out?
Sure. But what I'll say is that when you see these videos, which I want to get to very soon, is like they are saying that they've already been doing it. They've already been doing this, and they know that it works. This is the confidence. You got to listen to their voice. You got to watch what they're saying. This is no longer this, we think we need to put this together. So we know this, right? So we know that they've showed this, which is Dojo is going to be in production this month in July. Elon even tweeted out saying that it was actually, already in production in a month already. So they know that this thing's working, but look how fast they're going to blow this up, and they're going to be 100 exaflops. And so even by next year, we're going to be already the largest supercomputer in the world. And this is designed specifically for video processing. So just to clarify, Elon said this before, Dojo is highly optimized for vast amounts of video training. That was what it was designed for. The NVIDIA cluster, which they're using, is designed for other things like gaming and others, not for machine learning. And that's what Dojo was designed for. So this is going to be much more powerful. But they also are. Mhm.
He is comparing those to the NVIDIA A100s, and they're specifically designed for machine learning training, but not necessarily. So they're more designed for processing text data, just like all the data that GPT-3 was trained on. Versus, video has some different things about it so they optimized Dojo specifically for video data as opposed to any different type of mode of data. And obviously, Dojo V2, they're going to expand that back to be more general.
General.
Yeah, audio,
this
text.
is going to be bigger.
Yeah.
It's going to be huge. But right now, that's what it's for video. Then he says, this second sentence here, we just need a crazy amount of training compute to get full self-driving 10 times safer than a human, but can't get enough GPUs, plus prices are extremely high. So at least they have their Dojo to make sure that they get what they need. And you can see they're expecting exaflops much more than anybody in the world has.